Yahoo! Prof here, and we're at my mom's desk again. We got her back up and running, and this is one of the only free empty areas I have to do some quick unboxings. We just did the Pixel 7 Pro, so go back and check that video out once you're done with this one. You may like that. Still have not had my first impressions of that. I will have in that video though. What we have today, or in this video today, is what's in this little package here. Some of you may recognize it. I will say this brand previously used USPS, and now they're using UPS. Don't necessarily know why they switched, but same packaging. Alright, so what we have here is another pen. And you're like, Elliot, really? Really? Yes, yes. Those EDC guys out there, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here is the tactile turn. And this is specifically the Ultem bolt action. So it's the same material as the TI2 design bolt liner. Alright, so it is now an entire work shift later, and this nice clean desk has been invaded because I didn't finish in time. RIP. So we have Tactile Turn, one of my favorite pen companies, EDC pen companies. This is specifically the Ultem bolt action, so it uses that Ultimate, was it 1000 or 2000 material, that nice. This one you can also get in black. I don't know why you would, if you maybe just want the weight reduction, but most of the coolness, in my opinion, comes from that. Look at that color. Clear things are just more awesome, guys. I only have one hand because I'm using the phone camera. Since it's an entire work shift later, as you just heard with the ding, that is that's not gonna be the final background there, but I needed something different because the new phone having the same background as the it was face unlock as the old one was causing me to remove things on the new phone that I had just set up because I wasn't paying attention. But I even figured out macro mode a little bit. It currently only works automatically, kind of like some of the other modes. You can turn it on and off, and then you have to tap to lock it. Interesting. Oh, what's really cool is Night Sight now has a timer that counts down, and you can choose different versions of Night Sight. Like if you know you won't be able to hold it steady, you can set it to the faster one. Like if I knew I was, going out, say, drinking in Chicago or something. I'm probably not gonna be the steadiest person after doing all that, so I might purposely set it to the shorter night sight. Yeah, it might not be as good, but it's probably not as blurry. Now, when I'm manually taking photos in normal whatever, I would much rather, as long as I know I can hold it steady, or even just brace your phone up on one corner. The more points of contact you have that aren't moving, the better. So here we have the Ultimate. I don't know why it has a line right there. It must be something left from milling. Tactile turn bolt. And this is, I think this is the V2 bolt. It's the one I have in titanium. That has had to have work done a couple times. This is here's where it'd be nice to have the macro. That's kind of why I wanted most of the reason I wanted to do phone is like so you could more easily get. You can get 3 centimeters. I want to say it's probably that. So you'd be able to get this close and focus. See how it doesn't focus that close? On the new Pixel 7 Pro, you'd be in focus right now. You can see it's very fine. I'm guessing it's the same as normal. Maybe it just feels more fine because of the material. I got the standard length, which is the G2 length. I'm going to try a Uniball because I prefer Uniball generally. I think I recently had a little bit of a video on that. Oh, that feels snappy. My normal bolt is one of the first ones, so it is like a little you know. There you go, TheProfosist. Looks nice and clean there. I was kind of considering getting DLC hardware. Like you could do that as an upcharge or do it yourself because you can buy a replacement clip and bolt in DLC. I thought it would have looked good, but being that the TI2 design tech liner I have an Ultem 1000 as well, and it looked good with the silver hardware. I just stuck with that. So here's the biggest, maybe not with the bolt here, is this tip on my original tactile turn. I had to drill that out just a hair in order to fit the Uniball. I'm glad I did. And actually not from the outside, like the hole doesn't have to be any wider, it has to be slightly deeper. And you can actually see where there's 2 steps. They may have resolved that. Because I did mine literally the same day as getting the new pen in because I'm like, this should fit. Why doesn't it fit? Here's why. Drilled it out. And then was like, hey, you should do this. And they're like, oh, we don't know if it'll not break and stuff. Mine's been fine. Where it actually broke was up here. I had to have a whole new top of the pen replaced or made. And it was such a long time that I had like a launch version that you can tell it's different, but still works great. Let me go and get that actually. I don't know, I feel like the silver one looks longer. It's probably not because it's the same pen, but we'll find out. It looks a little bit different. I feel like this looks just a little thicker. And you can see I had to drill at the tip a little bit. It got a little tiny bit wider when I did that, just because I didn't have a ton of different bit sizes, like the exact bit size I didn't have. It was just ever so slightly too big, but it did make my refill work. Which if we grab, that's a Uniball. So you can see how it sticks out quite far as well. Compared to a G2, which barely sticks out at all. Like that's perfect length right there. And because of how the Uniball works, it is a tiny bit longer, but actually the plastic tip mechanism in there is actually where it is. We'll see if the Uniball in here fits here. Yeah, look at that guy. Ultem bolt, really snappy. Oh my gosh, this thing too, plastic guys, super lightweight. This, even compared to titanium, this is like a brick. You can hear how kind of slow that is too. This thing is like snap, snap, super snappy. But yeah, so you can just, like it is, if you're a lightweight pen guy, and I would say my other one is already getting a little scratched, my TI2 design. That is a smooth finish though. But if you do not carry anything else in your pocket with them, then I would look at these Ultem pens. You could do the black as well if you're, but I think this amber color looks you know, beautiful. That's half the reason you get this one, in my opinion. You can kind of see here. You see how this top is a little bit bigger than than here? That's because this was replaced like within the last year or so. Whereas the pen itself is from even the clip. I think they could reuse the clip. $2019. So, and I want to say like within a year it became like that. They originally thought that the clip was bent, and I was like, no, you misunderstand, because you could shake it. So what actually happened is like the inside part of this that pushes down broke. So here's how that one looks. Something in there broke, because this, see how it's a ring all the way down and this just screws down into it? That shouldn't really be able to be loose. So that's why they thought this was just bent. The whole thing would rock back and forth. So some defect. They took care of it. Very happy. And they did, and I prefer when brands do this. They don't just chuck out your pen and give you a new one, because you can definitely see the wear on the clip around the name here. But because I kept my modified one, because they were able to fix it, so I didn't have to re-drill anything or anything like that. I literally just put the same refill right back in. Actually, no, I think I may have even sent it with this refill in, because it was mostly gone at the time, and it came back. I gotta do this two-handed. It came back with it in there still, and all right. So I got them apart side by side. I might have shown this before, but there. This is a Uniball. That's a G2. You see the G2 is this two-step that is very important for some pens, because some pens grab onto that back one or use it for fitment. Overall, lengthwise, you can see they're not identical. However, the important part here, and the reason why I had to drill at the tip here from the inside, you might be able to see an extra step in there, right? That's what I did. And the reason why is, do you see this plastic part? It's slightly wider. Like, see, it goes down here. Even this end one is slightly wider, and then it's just a hair longer, right? So with how this was originally drilled out is, it could not physically go, like the metal would stop it. It could not go down enough into the tip. Like, it could come out fine. It just, like, the insides were catching. So just a hair got me there. Told them about that. They were worried, and it is very thin. If you look at this guy, and obviously this is a different material, the design has changed though since. Smaller O-ring, looks like coarser threads, and maybe this is unique to the Ultem design. But then also on this one, you could tell, and this could be because of the plastic, the tip on that is much thicker. If you see that, right? And this one is drilled out slightly, don't forget, like, but not much, like barely. It's like whatever the next tiniest size drill bit is to make that. So you see it's a little bit bigger. It does give the tip a little bit of wobble, but it makes it fit the refills I use, so that's fine. But you can see I had to make that just a hair bigger. So these are made different. Another place where you can tell they're different is the spring material, you can see this one's darker. Also, it's ever slightly longer. So there just must have been some tweaking over time. Like I said, this thing feels way snappier. And yeah, a little bit stronger spring is a little bit longer string is a little bit stronger. But I'm guessing a bit more went into it than just that. All of the other pens since this one that they've done have been Uniball compatible, whether they intended it or not. They were happy about that, especially the side click immediately. It turns out that's because it doesn't overextend like the bolt has to. And the slim side click was something else there. Like that was redesigned from scratch. So let me try and swap the refills now. Here's what can happen, by the way, when you start tip down. Eventually, and it's fine because this is a click. A lot of click pens do this, but eventually, you get bubbles, and some of the ink does start separating. If that gets all the way down to here, the whole thing will just piss out the back. Now, if it's this way, tip down, it doesn't really matter. But that is a thing that does eventually happen, like once you uncap the tip. If you notice on the G2 here, it still has a little, I don't know if that's wax or plastic or whatever on there. Now here's another thing. If you notice, I always notch out on ones that don't have, like this has a little hole in it. See? It's got that end cap, a little hole. If they don't have that, what you want to do is notch out on all gel refills. Notch it out like this. What that does is it allows air in. A lot of these are vacuum operated, or I should say like atmospheric pressure operated. So they need like our, what is it, 1 bar or whatever of pressure on there, pushing on the gel ink to get it out the tip to get it to flow properly. So what happens is if this is not cut like this, and you take your finger and imagine like it's a plunger like in the pen here, and you just cover the whole thing up, it's not getting that pressure to push the ink out. So this is a trick I learned a long time ago. You just take a notch out like that. You can take one on each side if you want as well. For these Uniballs, especially like the finer the point on the Uniball, the thicker the plastic. So it's quite hard to make that notch. Just use a sharp utility blade and be careful. On some of the stuff like Hi-Tec-Cs, it's way easier to make maybe 2 smaller notches. And the reason why you need that is, I don't know if we'll be able to see in here or not. No. We can see in here though, I bet. That's why it's nice to have this. If you look in there, that's a cup that the ink goes, or that the refill goes into. So here, we're hitting the edge of the cup. In order to get it to go all the way in, you actually need to push it up in there. And that's also how it holds the refill centered. However, if you don't have that notch in there, that's a flat upper area, and what it'll do is it'll seal off the refill, and you're going to get inconsistent writing. So you want a fairly deep notch, like that for a lot of pens. That where it goes, if it's just a flat end, like if they just chopped it off right there and that went like that, a smaller one would be fine. But usually something pretty deep is what I go with. Then you get nice even flow. You don't have to worry about that. On some pens that are not click back in the day, I would actually drill a hole in what would be the end cap to make sure to let air in there. Usually I go through refills now I got a ton of pens, but I used to go through refills, especially in Geek Squad, far faster than they would dry out, or that would happen to them. Alright, so it turns out, as you can see a little blub there, that is the Uniball refill in there. And it turns out they have not solved the inherent flaw that prevented this from working. And I remember in the slim bolt, This does work. That is a fully, like a redesigned pen though. So watch, if we do this, that plastic, and you can see here where I had to drill out, and I'm not going to do this on this Ultem when I'm, the titanium, there's so much resistance drilling that, like especially because I used a titanium nitride drill bit that I burned up in there. Once I got a carbide one, zipped right through it. But you can see here, you see it where the plastic, because it's just ever so much longer than that one, hits. See it right there? And that doesn't allow that to overextend far enough to get over the bolt. See, just barely not enough. Now, one trick you can do, now with the bolt liner, is you can actually cut the back end of the refill. Sometimes that works. Since the bolt liner is really like that, we can give that a try. I don't think it will in this case, because in this case, you can't extend it far enough. Like, the tip is the issue, not the overall length. I might be wrong though. So let me go grab the other one that already has a cut down refill. I just don't like cutting down refills if I don't have to. The other thing I will grab is something that has a juice up refill, because that's what I would like to use in here, because that's kind of like my new standard. I'm interested to see if this will work in here, because in the full size side click, what ends up happening is the juice up tip hits that same area that is not letting the Uniball through right now. See that second lip right there? Right there. And like when I drilled it out, I made like a third one. It doesn't have to be as wide as that one, but it has to be deeper. And I see where that would add another step of the process here. What I do find interesting though is you'd think, and they must not share the tip though, because you would think that this tip would be the same as on the side click. However, remember, with the bolt, you have to overextend to get it out. Whereas a side click, when you press it here, it's already out for days. Like, it's going to end up back there, like once it's in place. So let's grab that bolt liner and see how that goes. Alright, so as a demonstration, I grabbed, and this has a juice up refill in it, I grabbed the Bolt V2 from Karos Customs, and I can show you how it overextends. So that is where we get around that. See right here? You have to get around the bolt. Sorry, right there is where it has to be. See how far out the tip is? That's where it ends up being though. So that's what I mean by overextension. And that is why Uniball does not natively work in the tactile turn Bolt V2. They don't call it Bolt V2, it's their just tactile turn bolt action, I think. They do have an older one that was based around a Parker design. Squeers did get me one of those. It's quite nice actually. Looks very much like the Parker Jotter, just like beefed up. Same thing happens here obviously with the bolt liner. Do it. This was designed for G2 sadly. Just like that newer Ultem TI2 tech liner. So in order to make the Uniball in here fit, because it does rely on tip spacing, like that has to be at a certain point in order to, it grabs the plastic around there. So a Uniball normally goes out too far. This would, I think this is kind of related to like head spacing in a gun. The bullet, you know, they used to headspace off of the back, like the rim of the cartridge. Obviously, once you don't have a rim anymore, that's not really possible. So then they space off of the front lip of it. So let me put you guys down. This one is cut down ever so slightly. I will show you, and I actually cut it down too small. I've mentioned in previous ones how this thing rattles. And that's because probably took an extra millimeter off here. I didn't need to, but we'll see if it works. Alright, so if you can see here, that is all I took off. So that is maybe a bit over 2 millimeters. For this pen in the past, the bolt, which is this one essentially, he's recommended 2 millimeters. Is that 2 millimeters? Is that a little bit more? So maybe the bolt liner is 1. But I thought I would show you that before I tried it in here. Oh, and before I do that, you can see how this notch is tiny. That's actually because originally this was one that was notched when it was full length. Dang, Pixel 6 overheating again. Good thing we don't have to deal with that too much longer. In here is the Uniball 1 refill from the stainless steel bolt liner right there. This guy. Watch this. Now that tip is a hair short. I would probably want it. See, it's not all the way out. Right there. So I think you only want to take 1 millimeter off. Like realistically. Not 2 or whatever I had off of there. But this does prove the point that it does work. So I will be going Uniball in a couple seconds. I will also show you why I can't go juice up. Same reason I can't do it on the side click variant of this standard size. I may email them about it. Here, by the way, there's the original notch that was left over. I did re-notch it on the other side much longer. So, this guy only has a flat bottom in there, if you could see. So even that little notch probably was fine, but might as well since it's out. I actually did some testing. I don't think I'm going to keep using the Uniball ones. I did only buy 1 refill to try. It is much blacker. Like if you like your black ink being black, Uniball 1, really good for that. I feel like though it's scratchier than the light fast Uniball ink. But yet it even though it's scratchy, like scratchier in writing, it doesn't have the benefits of that refill. The cellulose, that's the 207 based. There's a Signo. There's a Signo 207 based one. This is UMR 83. I'm talking about the UMR 83E. That cellulose just writes so smooth by comparison, and it's the 83 is gray. It doesn't look great, but apparently archive safe, bloody, light fast, which means UV hits it, it cures. Lots of good things there. This actually nowhere near as secure or anything archive quality, the one, but it does make a very nice black line. And if you're into other colors, apparently those look even better than the black. Like the orange is like orange. Personally, unless I was doing notes for college, I was never super into multiple colored like writing. Got to be far more careful when you're doing these stainless steel ones because the threads can gall up because of how stainless steel works. So definitely make sure you have that lined up and it's not getting all icky feeling. I mean, usually for any threads, but especially stainless steel. And there's just that little bit of play there because I cut it too short. Yeah, that rattle. Turns out I checked my original bolt liner, which I did also cut refills down for because I prefer a Uniball. And it does also have a little bit of rattle, much less though. I'm guessing I probably cut that refill. Getting the hang of it. I would say go with the 1mm to start. Now I'm going to get in the juice up and show you why it doesn't work here, and probably the same reason why it doesn't work in the side click, despite them pushing straight down. Alright, so for the juice up, you can kind of see that it's juice up in there. You can force it. You just power through. But what's happening is because of the spring in there, and there's a little bit of leeway for all these different inks that it can use, it doesn't come out straight usually. Of course, now it's doing decently. I think it has a lot to do with the spring location. By the way, this Ultem threading wise, so nice. The material, I noticed that on the TI2 as well. There, you might be able to hear it even. What is happening is that because the part of the nose on this, that big step down is there, right? And that's plastic. Well, what it catches on is that step right there. So on this tip, we have this step down, then that step down, then the tip. Well, it catches on that second one because it's not centered. It doesn't come out. You can see the tip in there. You see how it's not centered? And that's because of the spring. And because this body of the pen doesn't perfectly fit the G2 or the Uniball, because it does even fit more than that. And why I have extra material on the inside if you're just going to remove it. But yeah, you see how it's off center? So what happens when you push it is it hits this and catches because it's got that big step down, right? So it's got a big step, whereas something like a G2, it's bad because it's here, something like the normal Uniball, or a Uniball refill, I should say, or like the standard juice refill, is straight. See, there's no step in it. So I may message him and see. I bet you if you could round off that just a hair, like put the next size bigger drill bit, but just tap it, just. I bet you that would be enough. I don't know if he wants to put in that extra time, but since I'm such a big fan of the juice up, I would appreciate it. Now here's something I found while I was going through the drawer. Shortened 4 bolt liner. I'm guessing this was what was in here prior to me changing it out for the Uniball 1 refill. So, or I was doing some testing, I don't know. But there's no notch cut in there, so I must have just cut it down for testing and make sure it works. Might as well put her in there, right? Here's an example on the juice up, example of what I'm doing with the notch. Just for example here, if you look in here, there's a hole that goes into the refill right there. And then basically these little teeth here keep it spaced out to allow air through. They also make these on the standard pens in many cases notch into the click mechanism because they put 3 teeth on it and it goes click, 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 click. So in order to properly engage and make that full turn, they use those as well. So it's a multiple use thing. I'm essentially remaking 1 to 2 of those notches when I cut the side out. And I've had much better flow rates and consistency writing with gel pens once I do that. And you can see here a factory implementation of it. So here's what happens when a refill is cut too short. Not as much of an issue for the bolt liner. Because of how that tip is, it's very wide open. Barely protrudes, though, for the tactile turn bolt. So I think I may swap this into one of the bolt liners and steal that refill. We'll see if this guy's any better. Alright, so there we go. This one that was in the bolt liner is basically perfect. Look at that. Already had the notch cut out too and everything. So I think we'll use up this refill. Some of the ink's going up here. That's basically just lost ink. I don't know if there's a term for that, but it goes blub, blub, blub. Comes out the top. Well, it doesn't actually come out until it gets real bad. But you know what I mean. So I'll just have to use this guy up. Probably might take a little while if the ink's like that to get it rolling real well. Sometimes you can just take it and hold it like this, tip out, and just go shaky, shaky, shake. Or just bop, 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 bop. Other thing you can do if they're really stuck is hot water. Guys, the refills are $3 though. So if you let it go for that long, or maybe rotate instead of leaving an ink in every pen. Like if you have, I'm going to standardize on the UMR 83E for Uniball. Just keep one of those you're using, 1 or 2 of those you're using, and swap them out between pens. Yes, you gotta open it up. But if you want to be out to $3, like if you're letting them sit for many, many months, that might be the way to go. Oh, this thing's so light. Listen how loud that is too. A little bit longer spring. And I did try the G2 spring, which is what they used in the bolt liner here, and it actually over compresses. So I can see why they have a little bit longer one. It's still, and a little bit more coarse, it's still uncompressed. When it's in this rested position here, the G2 is essentially fully compressed, and you actually over compress it to pop it out. But yeah, that is a perfect tip. So whatever I did there, great. Start with a millimeter. Might need up to 2 millimeters off there. Slowly though. What I would do. And then if you know you need it for a shorter pen like this, maybe label them a little bit so you know it's a shorter one. Kind of like what I did on this refill. If you take it out or in the package, or you can literally write it on the refill. I have a little oil-based permanent marker. I'm going to notch this one and get in here. I'm thinking it came out of here because I wanted to try the Uniball 1. So, alright guys, well hopefully this was a bit interesting. You got to see the new tactile turn, as well as, well not new one, I think this is actually older than the, not Overlander, the newer one. Evergreen? One second. Yes. Thanks to, whoops. Thanks to the Trailhead, or I guess, sorry, not the Overlander, the successor, the one that had their sort of recall-ish on it, the Trailhead, thanks to the Pixel 7 Pro. That's newer than this guy. This guy sold out though, even though it wasn't limited edition, sold out first day. It came out paired with his knives, which Maybe you'll see one of those on the channel in the future, so hit that subscribe button and maybe that notifying the bell in the corner. It's not as important, but hopefully we'll see you in the future for these EDC videos. Hopefully you got some more knowledge about refills and what works with what. If there are some that you prefer that you want me to try, hit me up down below. When I got my original tech liner and then followed up by the original tactile turn bolt in titanium here, or the revised bolt in titanium here, I tried everything that was Uniball compatible under this, you know, like one of everything off jet pens in 0.3 and 0.4 in that realm. But maybe you prefer non-Uniball. I can't stand ballpoint personally. Square Seller loves them, so throw your suggestions down below in the comments. Otherwise, hit me up over on Twitter. As always, I'm at TheProfosist, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.